The following question reads, a television programming director is scheduling a 3-hour block of programs beginning at 1 p.m. The programs that are to fill this time block include an hour-long program called Generations and 4 half-hour programs, Roman, Sundown, Terry, and Waterloo. The programs will be shown one after the other, each program shown exactly once. The schedule must meet the following constraints. All right, so we have our inventory. We have a 1-hour program, G, and then we have our half-hour programs, R, S, T, and W. So we know we have a 3-hour block, and 4 out of the 5 programs will each be a half-hour long. So the way we're going to draw this out is we're going to have 6 spaces, each depicting the half hours in the 3-hour block. So we have 1 p.m., 1:30, 2 p.m., 2:30, 3 p.m., and 3:30. And since we know that G is going to be an hour program, which is technically just 2 half-hour blocks back to back, we'll place 2 G's in a block together to depict that. So now let's go to the rules. Rule number 1, G starts on the hour rather than the half hour. Okay, so that means G is either going to start at 1 p.m., 2 p.m., or 3 p.m. So we can write that out, G on the hour. And what that tells us is we can either have our G block at 1 p.m. here, or we can have our G block at 2 p.m. here, or at 3 p.m. here. All right, rule number 2. T starts on the half hour rather than the hour. So we know T is on the half, which means that T isn't going to be at 2 o'clock or 3 o'clock in our first scenario, not at 1 o'clock or 3 o'clock in our second scenario, and not at 1 o'clock or 2 o'clock in our third scenario. Rule number 3, R is shown earlier than S. So we have R earlier than S. So that means S isn't going to be at 2 o'clock in our first scenario, and R isn't going to be at 3:30 in our first scenario. We know in our second scenario, S is not at 1 o'clock, and R is not at 3:30. And in our third scenario, S is not at 1 o'clock, and R is not at 2:30. All right, and our last rule, rule number 4, if W is shown earlier than T, it is shown immediately before T. So W before T, then WT in a block like so. Contrapositive if not, WT in a block, then W is not earlier than T, which technically would be the same thing as saying T is before W. All right, so those are our rules, our deductions, and our setup. Let's go ahead and hit the questions.